Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yo, welcome in, family. Welcome in, man. We got a special show for you guys today. Just backstage, I have one of the most phenomenal watchmakers I have experienced on this journey of watch collecting, and we'll bring him up in just a second here. But I will say, if you have a question or anything like that while you're in the chat, man, just go ahead and do the little hand so I can see you. And we'll try to get to any questions and stuff like that, man. But we just want to get to know our guest that's coming up, man. So I hope you guys ready, man, because it's a watch conversation. It's just two brothers sitting up here chatting, you know what I'm saying, doing our thing. So let's bring up my man Jason. Yo,
I like that intro, man. I feel like I'm coming into like a boxing ring or something. You know, I'm coming down with the crowd. I got my robot and pumped up. Thank you.
Yeah. I had to, man. I have to. I mean, Jay, I'm gonna tell you something, bro. And we're gonna get into the story of how we met, man. But I get excited about, anything that has to do with watches and people that collect watches, but then to know an actual watchmaker, designer, engineer. What do you refer to yourself as? Let's get that out the way. What do you refer to yourself as?
Oh, I don't know. It's I'm sure you've talked with other microbrand owners before. You wear so many hats, right? I when people ask or I tell people, I just say I own a watch brand, and then you just kind of that usually gets people pretty engaged right away, because they're like, it's not, unless you're really into the watch community. If you meet somebody just kind of out there and they're like, well, you own a watch brand? I'm like, yeah. And then they're really fascinated, and you just get into it, right? But it's a little bit of everything. So I just say I own a watch brand, and then it rolls from there.
Gosh, that's almost like a celebrity status, right? Like you just get treated like different, man. That's crazy.
I think people are curious more than anything, because it's for someone who's not into watches, they're not even sure where you'd start, right? Like, how do you create a watch brand, right? And that's the most common question I get. And I say, first off, you just got to be, be a watch enthusiast and love watches, right? If you do that, you find ways to engage and get involved, right? And there's so many different elements or ways you can be involved in the industry too. It's amazing.
Dang. So I was doing some digging on you, man. I was looking. You've done multiple interviews. I found how your interview style. You're like super comfortable, man. So I was like, okay, so I definitely got to have you on, man. Which you already know you had to be on here, bro. So
thank you.
Going back to Chicago, where I first met you, I saw your brand actually before I met you. I saw the brand and I was like, wow. So you're like a COVID creation, so to speak, because you came out during COVID, right?
We did, yeah. The process of Zenea, when I first started planning the brand, was quite a bit before COVID started. Probably the process leading up to our launch was about a year and a half of work, roughly. We actually launched in December of 2019, late December 2019. So, within a month and a half, we were full into COVID. So it definitely made the launch process really interesting. And everybody was kind of trapped in their house, right? Including me. So it created a lot of engagement, but I think it took away from a lot of opportunities too, because those watch meetups or get-togethers, nothing was happening. So you really had to kind of do everything online. And so I feel like we got a little bit of a late start because of COVID, but it taught us, at least myself, how to be resilient and how to be creative, right? And make things happen, even if it didn't fit to your original plan.
Man, that's crazy. So I'm curious. So Zenea, and I'm gonna talk about this box here before I even talk about the watch. I'm gonna talk about this box, bro. Like this thing is nuts. Tell me, like, who idea was it, and what is this symbol we're looking at?
Yeah, so that symbol is actually found on the back of all of our first line, and it says, I don't know, I'll try and get it in my camera here. So it's a set of heraldic dolphins, and they're swimming. The idea is they're swimming in a concentric circle.
Right.
So it represents the continuity and never-ending nature of time.
Mm.
Heraldic dolphins, you see them a lot on like old maps, old architecture,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
like Southern Europe, seafaring communities. So I thought it was kind of a nice, I'm a big fan of not just exhibition casebacks, but art casebacks. And I wanted to create something kind of special. So I'm originally from Vancouver, BC. So I had a friend of my sister's who's an artist, helped me put together the idea for the caseback design. So he helped me design it. And when I put the box together, really with Zenea, I wanted people, especially if they order the watch online, when they first get it, to feel that they have something special from the moment they receive the box and kind of open that outer casing. And having that plaque on top just kind of does that, right? And it's I like it. It's kind of fun. It's a little over the top. Actually, funny enough, too, I was meeting up with my dad before this interview about an hour ago, and he doesn't really wear watches too much anymore, but he was out visiting one of my cousins, and he was talking about the watch, and they said, yeah, they pulled it out and they showed me, and he talked about the box specifically, and he goes, yeah, when they pulled out that box, I was like, whoa, it's crazy, right? And so even he liked it. So it's fun, right? It makes it enjoyable for people, and to me that's what collecting or being a watch enthusiast is about. This is enjoying what you have, whatever that happens to be.
So before we go any further, thank you for signing the back of my car. Thank you so much.
My chicken scratch signature, but it is mine. I sign all the cards myself. So
listen, I'm telling you, I had to pencil in my own from some other watch purchases and like major watch purchases. I'm like, yo, you're supposed to do this when I purchased the watch, man. Like, I mean, it's no harm, no foul, but like I just think for me as a fan of watches, I love people going above and beyond. And I have to say, there's another watch company that I was dealing with that's here in Indiana that has sort of the same concept. It's like, yes, I have to say that is over the top, but I'm telling you, the way this box looks, the way it feels, and when I saw it, I said, wow, that's crazy. That's one of those, okay, when I put it back, this don't go in the cases with other watches. It's going back in its own case.
that's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, dude, now, your idea, like, did you grow up liking watches, or is this just a new hobby for you?
I've always liked watches. Always had one ever since I was a kid. Didn't really get into mechanical watches until later, but I remember even being, when I graduated from high school, and my mom was there and said, what do you want for a graduation gift? And I didn't even hesitate. I said, I want a nice watch. So she got me a watch, and that was kind of my first watch. And then, bought another one a few years later. It was a Tiger on a trip that I was on. And then when I relocated to Toronto, kind of upgraded, bought myself a nicer piece. And I wore those for quite a few years. And then it wasn't until about maybe a little over a decade ago, though, that I really got into, timepieces and started kind of going down the rabbit hole and acquiring different pieces and really learning more about the hobby. And I love it. And just, to me, I enjoy the watches, but my collection was really eclectic. I've got everything from, $10, $15 thrift store finds, and I'd give them equal wrist time as to, really nice pieces that I bought from an AD somewhere. And I'd wear those equally. The different reasons I'd like them, but I wore them all. And usually I'm repping my own brand now, wearing Zenea on my wrist. So I don't wear my own personal collection as often any longer. And but I just enjoy it. And, the best part to me about watches is really the community, right? You connect with people like yourself, and you make friendships, people locally, people different parts of the world. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. And it's a hobby that really weaves people together in an amazing way. And I love being a part of that.
It's crazy. So like with the community, we have a community question right now. Dad Mods wants to know, why did you choose to go with Swiss movements to start rather than NH or Miyota?
Yeah, when I was first looking at the brand, I've always been a fan of like Swiss watches and Swiss movements. I think Miyota movements as well, by the way, are absolutely phenomenal. I think there are a lot of great movements out there.
Right.
And when I was looking at what I wanted to create, my initial vision of the brand was I was going to have overseas manufacturing, probably in China or Taiwan, with a Swiss movement watch. And when I first had the prototypes made, I had a very pretty clear vision of what I wanted to create in terms of people who would receive the watch. And when I received the first prototypes, they were okay, but they weren't really at the standard or what I was hoping to create. And I'd done some networking as well with Switzerland. So I started looking into doing manufacturing in Switzerland for all of the elements, including the movement. And I was able to just get prototypes that I felt a lot more comfortable with for what I wanted to create. So that was basically the rationale of why I went kind of a Swiss route right away, which is a little unusual for a micro brand to go into
Mhm.
the Swiss space, I would say, right away. So, but like I say, I like Miyota movements. I think there's a lot of tremendous micro brands out there too, regardless of where they're made, whether it's Swiss made, whether they're made overseas in Asia, Germany, US made. There's so many amazing brands out there that I love as a watch enthusiast myself.
Mm. Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, I actually had an opportunity to see him twice, and as much as you guys fan out over some of these watches, I watched you when you talked to other people, when you had a chance to get away from your table. I saw you, bro. Like you were like over here talking, you were over Dufresne, you came over the canopy, like you were everywhere. And I said, like, I was just being very observant. I said, some of these people are very, very genuine and enthusiastic about watch collecting, and you were one of them. Which I want to just ask you this personal question. Like, so you had the challenge of going through COVID, right?
Mhm.
Like, and you said one of the biggest challenges because you didn't get a chance to like interact with people. And I know I was in retail at the time, and I know we had to like issue stuff out from when we had to go to the store, bring it back
Yeah,
to our house, and ship it out, to people
yeah.
and stuff like that. Now, were you at any point during that, were you nervous about that? Like, man, this may not work because of this, or like, what was the vibe at that point?
I think I think you're always nervous, and
Mhm.
for me, the I knew what I was getting into, let's say, to a certain extent. And I think the one of the things that happens with a lot of microbrand owners or creators is, especially when you're passionate about the timepieces yourself, right? You tend to get very focused on the things you love the most, right? Which is the creation, the elements of the watch, engaging folks. And then once it's made and you're actually out there and you're marketing, it's kind of it's becomes a challenge sometimes, because sometimes it goes smoothly, sometimes things go sideways, and you just got to keep finding ways and kind of grind it out and find things that work, right?
Mm.
So there's always a little bit of that nervousness, but when you're surrounded by something that you enjoy and you love,
Mm.
it doesn't nervous is probably the wrong word, but you're out there doing it. It doesn't feel like you're working hard, but it doesn't feel like you're working hard. So it's
Mm.
I don't know
Mm.
if nervous would be the right word, but it's you work hard to make it as successful as you possibly can. So, and that's always in the
Okay.
back of your mind, right?
Okay. And now you had the colorways. Now,
Yes.
was that all the colorways? Were all that your idea, or did you have help with the colors?
I did all the design myself in relation with the factory, and they were pretty good at doing the renders. So
Mhm.
I had a pretty specific idea of what I wanted for some of the colorways. I want some that are a bit more conservative, and ones that are a bit more fun, like the yellow. The meteorite, I love meteorite material, so I'm very, very happy with that one. I mean, we can talk about that too a bit later. But yeah, I did all the colorways myself, but the process of selection was long. Give you an example, like the Japanese Gardens blue, right? That was
Yes.
I'm a diver as well. And that's named after a reef in southern Thailand where I went diving.
Wow.
And although the blue is not an exact representation, I would say, of the reef water itself,
Yeah.
that blue kind of created that feeling or that warmth within me, right? So I looked through about 450 different hues and shades of blues before I landed on that one and chose it. So
Jeez.
it's 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 funny when you get into the design and the elements of the watch, such little minuscule differences make a big difference to how the watch is experienced and how it's viewed visually. So you really kind of go down the rabbit hole. But it's a lot of fun, but it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah, and you know what? And Skylar asked a question. He's asking a question that's really kind of going what you're saying. Is like, what feature were you most proud of on your watches?
I'll give some context to that. When I was making the watch, for me, a big part of watch collecting and being a watch enthusiast is how the watch is being experienced, right? So my end goal, and that's actually where the name Zenea comes from. I wanted to start with the end and kind of work backwards to put everything in place to create the type of watch I wanted. Wow. So end to the beginning, Z to A, Zenea. That's where the name actually comes from. But one of the things I wanted to do with the watch was I wanted the wearer to really feel comfortable and just enjoy the watch. So although I wouldn't say it's a specific feature, for me, one of the things I'm really proud of and happy with the watch is the bracelet and the finishing and the chamfer that you find on like the metal parts, because to me, bracelet is what you're touching most of the time on your wrist, and it's a very comfortable watch to wear. So I'm very, very pleased with how that has turned out. And the reviewers and people who bought the watches and worn them for some time, that's a comment that I often get back, and they say, yeah, this watch, especially for a dive watch, is very comfortable to wear. So I really am proud of that. And so it's probably the feature that I'm the most happy with in terms of the watch.
Well, sir, I can tell you this. I do a test with every watch that I own. If I can sleep in this watch without taking it off throughout the night, I got a winner. And I went to sleep with this watch. And I believe, as a matter of fact, so I'm a part of Watch Crunch. And you have, like, on Watch Crunch, there is I think it's called the Wristy. And you get like this accolade for like say, for instance, engaging with people. You know, like you get like this accolade for engaging with people, welcoming new people, content creation. And the Wristy. So you got 30 consecutive days, right? And most people post, a different watch every other day. I've posted this watch twice already. And it's going to be again tomorrow morning. So if y'all watching me on Watch Crunch, it's going to be this in the morning. I'm not changing out, man. This is all day watch, man.
That's cool. I love it. I love it. That gives me a lot of joy. Just anyone who wears the watch or has a Zenea timepiece and they enjoy it, whether they swap it out with different watches or they wear it as their regular daily wear. To me, that's an amazing feeling. Just knowing I've helped to create something that's become a small part of somebody's life, right? Whether it's a daily basis or whether it's through occasional wear, whatever it is. Everybody's got different reasons, right?
So Space G is saying the 3 Shades of Loom is super dope. Talking about your loom is ridiculous. I did a loom test on this last night.
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah,
it kept me up last night.
Is the loom that we have. And I know some of the original prototypes, they actually mix the loom type. So that might be where the 3 different shades of loom is coming from, because it should all be BGW9 throughout the whole watch. I know, like, even the bezel, we've loomed the bezel and the markers on there as well. So to me, that was like an extra step that I felt was appropriate for dive watch. And I think it just helps with the design aesthetic. I like loom too. It's awesome, right? When you can see it. And it's probably one of those things we don't, as watch enthusiasts, everybody gets into the loom, although the reality of you using the loom is like such a small percentage, right? But it's just amazing when you see it. I love it.
Yeah, it is. But I'm gonna tell you something. I was spoiled on just like having that night light because of Casio. I grew up in the 80s and I had a Casio through the 80s. So I used to always just press the light. And when I found out that watches, you can actually shine a light on it, and I'm like, oh, that's crazy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have one, you don't necessarily have to go out and get this one. Go get the other colorways, because I don't want y'all wrists looking like mine. I'm being selfish. No, but this is okay. So, the meteorite.
Yeah.
When you chose it, you just dove into elements. You didn't want to just stay to one palette, just having different colorways. What encouraged you to get the meteorite?
To me, meteorite is such an exotic material, and just based on a number of different things, the patination that is created by the process of a meteor becoming a meteorite. Like, it's absolutely incredible. When there's, it's created from a cataclysmic event in space, right? A long time ago. And these red hot or white hot pieces of metal cool down in the vacuum of space. It only cools by about 0.5 degree every year. So it takes centuries and centuries for this material to cool down to really, really cold temperatures. And then it comes into the Earth's atmosphere and heats up to incredibly hot within, 30, 40 seconds, right? And it's this crazy extreme of environments that creates that unique pattern in the meteorite. And then the way it's all put together, I just think it's a really unique thing to have on your wrist, and to know you have something that is like incredibly old, right? Like, this meteorite comes from the Moen-Ulysse meteorite that fell in northern Scandinavia about 1 million years ago. The actual material itself carbon dates to about 4.5 billion years old, which is like the age of the Earth. It's mind-boggling. And I always laugh. I tell people, I go, "This is a true vintage watch, right? Because it's got old material in it." And I like it. It's just it's a unique timepiece. It looks really different. Even if somebody's not into watches, often when I'm wearing that watch and it's out and somebody kind of looks at it, they'll be like, "What's that dial? Like, it's really interesting." And then it strikes up conversation. So I just think it's a really fun material to work with for watch dials. So I've always been a fan of it.
Well, when I first met you and I looked down at that watch, that was the first one I went to.
I
was
remember.
like, yo, what? This watch is crazy.
You came back a bunch of times to look at that watch, and you were like,
I'm telling y'all,
I love it.
This watch, and I said it, I was like, this has to be it. This is going to be like the ultimate grail. And I told you that so I wanted the Squale. Squale was always like on my list to get. And
I love Squale too. I've got a couple of their timepieces at home as well, and they're cool timepieces.
Really nice watches, man. And the thing about it is, I've always said this, for a microbrand, you guys have to like create something very unique, because there's 1,001 companies that have dive watches. I think Dufresne does a good job with some of their watches, completely unique. I think like with Canopy did, I think that was a big jump. I can't wait for them to come out with whatever they come out with next. But like when it comes to yours, the design language, one, if you guys see that, the crown guards, I think that I have a bunch of watches that don't have crown guards on them. I have a bunch of divers that don't. So what made you go with it? Was this a part of the, like, just trying to make it unique, or you just wanted crown guards?
For me, when you look at the old vintage dive watches, right? The original dive watches, they didn't really have crown guards, most of them. And to me, crown guards are sort of an essential part of a modern dive watch. So that was part of the reason behind it. I really wanted to create a dive watch, but it was also a tool watch, right? Something that was tough, something that was, I missed the comment there, so I have to read it back to you after.
I'll bring it back when you get done.
Anyways, I wanted to make a tool watch that was, felt great, right? And to me, the crown guards were part of that, along with a bunch of other elements that I really wanted incorporated into the watch. So yeah, it was an essential part of the design. I had crown guards from day one, because the meteorite is out of this world. Yeah, absolutely. Who knows where it came from, right? It's kind of a mystery. It's somewhere in deep space, but
that is amazing. That is amazing. So I will say this, and I can tell you why you're here. I sized it. I sized it myself. I refuse to let somebody else touch my watch to size it. I refuse. If I can't get it done, I'm taking it to Kokomo, where I trust those guys out there to get it right. But once I got it done, I actually looked at it, and you have like quick release on the back, and the watch, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect watch, but then there are times where this watch fits perfectly for me, and this one fits the bill. From the raised numbers, man, like that right there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I think you did an amazing job on that.
Thank you. Yeah, the factory does an incredible job on the dials and the indices, and the level of polishing is really, really top notch. So
that is, it's comfortable. And don't catch my arm hairs, man. That's important, man. Like, I hate that. wearing a watch and it's just like yanking your hairs out and stuff like that. Oh, that gets on my last nerves. Now, let's talk about, you have something coming up, right? You guys are going out to District Times, right?
Yeah, we'll be in Washington, D.C. Next weekend, March 2nd and 3rd. So I haven't been to that show before. I've gone to Chicago, I've been to Austin, some other shows, and McDowell Time and Lauren from the Time Bomb. I know they organized the show down there in Washington, D.C. I've heard great things about it, so I really want to go down there as a brand owner. They've got a very successful show, it looks like, lined up. I think they've got about 40 brands actually at the show. So it's going to be really busy. And Zenea is going to be down there as well. So, if anyone's in Washington, D.C. area or coming in, like, come on by and say hi. And I'm looking forward to the show. It's always fun talking with other watch enthusiasts and interacting with brands, just the community in general. So I'm really looking forward to that show.
Dad Mod asked a question earlier. Are you still doing the reviews? Are you allowing YouTubers to do reviews on those?
I do occasionally. I'm not actively chasing after the reviews like I was. We do have another line that we're starting to put together from a design standpoint. I'll probably be significantly increasing the number of engagement with different reviewers at that time. But, if there's somebody that wants to review the watch or whatnot, I always encourage people just reach out to me and we can chat. I'm usually happy to help out in that regards.
Okay. Yeah, he's very responsive. You can find him over on Instagram. Where you do now, let me ask you this: on your Instagram page, do you do your own Instagram page?
I manage it, but a lot of photography comes from other reviewers, other watch enthusiasts, from Zenea owners. It's the content is created by a mixture of not only myself but other people as well that I know within the community. So it's kind of I don't want to take credit for the content in terms of photography because a lot of that is done by the community.
Okay.
What I post and whatnot, there's no social media manager. It's me. It's me.
Oh, well, I was just asking because the way your page is set up, man, is very lively, very colorful, is very engaging. It's like, okay. And I have no problem sharing some pages, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't share it because it's not popping. Because if it didn't get my attention in the first place, I don't want to send it to somebody that, like, what is Trap doing, man? What is this foolishness? Let's see, Jason, what size watches or millimeter cases are you comfortable with building?
With building, okay. Well, the Eula Diver is 41. For me, 41 was the kind of ultimate size for a dive watch, right? It was large enough to still feel like a tool watch, but most wrists can take that watch, right? The next line that we have coming out, it's going to be more of a bit of a hybrid between a dress watch and a field watch.
Wow.
It's going to feel dressy, but it's a bit tougher in terms of robustness. So that's why I say it's a little bit more like a field watch. That one is going to be a little smaller, probably be a 38 millimeter case size. And the idea behind that is because the different colorways and the different styles, I'm going to design the watch to be a little bit more of a unisex watch. And there'll be some styles and colorways that will feel more masculine and some that will feel less masculine. But I think it'll, because I get a ton of requests from female watch enthusiasts actually, and they love the Eula Diver, but it's just a bit too big for them and they can't wear it. So I've got a ton of requests for like smaller scale or two sizes of the watches. So I really want to try and accommodate it for a slightly larger audience. But for me personally too, the watches I wear, I've got a lot of vintage pieces as well. Those can go as small as 34, 35 millimeter. Those are pretty small for me. I usually like watches around 37, 38 to about maybe 42 on the top end. I've got ones outside of that range, but I don't wear them too much. I've got a set 6 3/4 wrist. So, anything too giant, I have trouble with it. Anything too small, it feels just too small. So hopefully that answers the question.
Now I got a question. Would you consider doing a pocket watch in like the Eula Dollar style?
I don't know if I would do a pocket watch. I think they're pretty cool. I love like what companies like Vortec do, where they take the pocket watch and they redo them and put them into like a wristwatch format.
Saw that.
I think that's pretty cool. And they're actually coming. We'll talk about it later too. I'm producing a timepiece consumer trade show, right, that we talked about before in Toronto. they're actually one of the brands that's coming up and going to be exhibiting there as well. So I'm totally looking forward to when they come up, and they're going to be down in Washington, I believe, as well. So I'm going to take a meander over to their booth and enjoy those timepieces as well. I think they're pretty cool.
Man. So you know, 2024, there's a lot of speculation about what watch is going to be the best and things of that nature. And obviously I like to watch. You do have a number of people that like to watch, man. And you already kind of spilled the beans that you got some stuff coming up, man. But as far as moving forward with Zenea, you know what I'm saying? Will you will you continue to do the shows or try to produce your own shows, or like what's the future for you as far as the community is concerned?
I think it's going to be both, because you know, one of the reasons I wanted to do the show in Toronto, of course, it's not just Zenea there. We're going to have about 40 brands in Toronto.
Right.
And to me, those shows, there was nothing really in the Canadian market that was like that. There's a lot of great shows in the US and over in Europe. And I really felt it would be something that would be fantastic for the community here. So that's one of the big drivers why I wanted to do it. And so I'm going to do the show in Toronto. I'm actually in Vancouver right now visiting my family, but I'm also doing some business elements. And I'm looking at doing a very similar show in Vancouver as well. So hopefully I have the two shows on either side of the country. Canada's a big place. And but yeah, I love doing the shows. It gives me a chance to interact with the other brands, but I still love my own micro brand and creating those timepieces for people as well. So I'll do both. And you know, we'll be part of the shows, not only the Canadian ones, but you know, ones in US and elsewhere as well. And it's just part of being in the community and engaging people, right? And whether it's through Zenea, whether it's through the show, I love being part of that community. It's great.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you are a diver. You dove, or do you dive? Are you currently diving?
I still have my PADI ticket, my PADI certificate, but I haven't dove since before COVID. I think it was about a year before COVID started. That was my last dive. So that was like 5 years ago. So I probably have to go in the pool and do a bit of practicing. But over my life, I've probably done about maybe 60 different dives across the world. So I've been really fortunate to see some really amazing stuff. So,
you know, it'd be dope, man, if they did another, like a Jaws reboot, and you saw Zenea watch in Jaws, like the newest Jaws or something like that. That'd be cool.
Chomping on a piece of arm and it's got the Zenea hanging off of it.
That'd be crazy, bro.
Saltwater proof.
It's crazy, man.
So,
you ever think about that? Doing that, like, you know, like offering your watches or like sponsorship with some diving schools around? I don't know if they have them up there where you are.
It's funny with diving schools too. Most of the diving now is people use dive watches, like not analog, mechanical dive watches, really as a backup piece mostly, because it's all done by computer now, and they measure your time that you're down, you know, underneath, and the depth and your decompression time and how soon you can go back into the water. So the computers make it very, very easy, whereas it used to be all manual process and calculation, including the use of your dive watch, right? But it's still a great tool. I've had people take it diving. There's a guy in Ontario, and he's taken it. He's a dive instructor, and he's taken it. And if you go way back in the feed, I think there's a few photos from him when he's taken it out on different dives and whatnot. So I have done that before, and it's pretty fun, right? I love seeing the watches in an unusual environment, right? I've had people wear it while they go mountain climbing. I had another guy did a fundraiser where I sent a watch around Canada, and there was one guy up north in Nunavut, which is like way, way north in the Arctic. And he's a professional hunting guide. And he wore the watch while he was taking his dog sled out on the sheet ice and the frozen ocean. It was pretty cool. So I think there's a video way, way back in the feed somewhere.
I'll go dig it out.
Yeah.
So Joe wants to know, what was your deepest dive?
It was about 110 feet, I think. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of deep diving because you can spend less time down below the deeper you go, and you have to spend a lot more time kind of gradually coming back up. So my favorite dives are like 30, 40 feet deep. There's lots of light coming through. You can see more things. When you're ready to come up, you just kind of come up. You don't have to stop and decompress for 5 or 10 minutes. And you just get more dive time and quality time underneath. And that's for me. That's for me. I'm a warm water diver too. So I like going where it's tropical. I haven't done really cold diving yet, but I know there's cool stuff to see. But I like going. I don't wear my shorts and a t-shirt and just going in the warm water. You know, I want it to feel like a bath.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something else. Like, it's completely off of watches, man. I'm going to put a request out there for you, and
Uh-oh.
I'm actually hitting some other watchmakers and distributors, and some of you guys is in the chat. What do you think about a collector's cruise? Because I got one coming up in about 8 months, but like just a bunch of micro brands, the customers, all of us get together, man, on this, like, you know what I'm saying, a group cruise or something like that.
That's not a bad idea. We should talk about that too, because I'll tell you one thing about, I would say, micro brand owners generally, right? And you see a lot of companies, both in Canada and US and over in Europe, you know, doing different things, trying to look for opportunities outside of just the bigger shows where you can engage an audience and get some good quality time with them, right? And just enjoy the time together, but also showcase the watches and whatnot. So that might have some legs, depending on, obviously, I don't think we could afford to rent the whole cruise ship, but
no, just
maybe
that's
there's
what I said, group cruise
opportunity there, you know, it would be kind of fun. And I think that goes a long ways, because I love the shows too, as an exhibitor and also attending them as a watch enthusiast. But there's so much going on, and you don't always get a lot of time to engage people. And when you get an opportunity like that, would probably give you a lot more time to just really have those relaxed dialogues and discussions and really get to know people, I think, in a meaningful way. So
well, I
I'd be
think
open to exploring it. I'm sure others would too, but you know,
I'm thinking you got a lot on your plate this year.
I do.
But I'm thinking like the end of 2025, maybe you know what I'm saying, mid 2026. You missed out during COVID, that engagement. I think this would be the best time for you to catch up on that one.
I think there's possibility for sure, man. Let's talk more. You know, and you know what? I think there'd be other, you know, or to my earlier point, I think there'd be other brands that would consider that too, because they're always looking for ways to have good kind of engagement and just get to know people, right? That's how you build a lot of your business. It's just creation of meaningful relationships and people getting to know you, getting to know your watch, and you know, it's fun. It's fun.
So I have to introduce this guy because he is the king of magnums, and that is Invicta magnums. For all you people at home, we're not talking about the other magnums. This guy over here in New York wants to know, who do you root for in hockey?
Who do I root for in hockey? Well, my Toronto friends are going to hate me, but I grew up in Vancouver, so I always cheer for Vancouver. I'm a fan of the Montreal Canadiens, even though I'm not from Montreal. So I cheer for them, and maybe Toronto third because I live there. But I'd say Vancouver is the team I cheer for in hockey. So,
but definitely not the Rangers, right? Definitely not the Rangers.
You know what? My uncle used to have tickets to the Vancouver Canucks here years ago, and the very first I had the opportunity to come and see some of the games when I was a young kid, and the Rangers were always the ones that were playing every time I went. So I've seen them live with Vancouver Canucks like 5 or 6 times. So I got a little soft spot for the Rangers too. So they're okay. They're okay. Don't hate me if you like somebody else, but it's
he said wow in the chat. Now, I would love, like, I have a lot of stuff going on as well. However, your Toronto event is going to be amazing. I love the advertising that you got. So if I can make it work, bro, I'm definitely going. But if not,
man, come up. You'll be like an awesome addition to the show. And we got a lot of people starting to come in and confirm. And we've got different members of the Watch fam coming in from like Vancouver, from Edmonton, from Montreal. We have a theater room that we rented as well. And we've got a lot of like panels and speakers and special guests coming in. And there's some amazing people coming in and sharing their experience. And, you know, not just micro brand owners speaking, but brand owners. There's one individual, he owns Beauregard watches, which actually is like a haute horology. His timepieces are just these exquisite pieces of art. And he goes to Dubai Watch Week. And, you know, he's not exhibiting at the show, but he's going to come and just talk about his experience and his love and creation of these exceptional timepieces. They're really something. And then we've got a panel on mil-spec, tactical type timepieces. We've got some other brands coming and talk about their story. I've got a panel of horology-based artists. There's 3 different artists from across Canada. They're going to come in and talk about their creative process and why they chose to create in the space of horology and what drove them. And it just should be a lot of fun. It's a very casual show. It's going to be very engaging. Tickets are free. So, you know, if you're interested in coming, just register for your tickets and you get access to the show. And there's going to be a lot of giveaways and door prizes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So what would you call it? What was the name? It was just a Toronto
The
show.
Toronto Timepiece Show. So if you just
Timepiece
go
show.
on the web browser, torontotimepieceshow.com, you can go in and you'll see at least not all the brands are listed yet. We've got 26 confirmed now. There should be space for about 40. And but I think I've got about 21 or 22 brands listed on the website right now. So there's a few more to be announced.
Still a lot though.
Yeah, it's
That's
going to be
still
a
a
lot.
lot.
5,500 square feet of exhibit space. So, but it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Wow. And you know that's okay. So I have shared my experience with like my audience. Let me get your perspective, like from your angle doing the show. How does that make you feel doing an actual show?
I love it. It's to me, having my own brand, I love it because I get to interact with people who pick up the watches, and you're at shows and you get to talk to members of the watch community. Doing the show though as well, although I'm still doing Zenea,
Right.
it's really allowing me to interact with so many other brands as well from across the world. And I love that because the one thing I missed being a watch enthusiast and starting my own brand was I became so hyper focused on Zenea. I didn't get to appreciate or enjoy other timepieces as much. At least that's me personally how I felt. Right. So working with the show now, I'm engaging with lots of these other brands from like all over the world. We got a ton of US brands coming. There's ones from Norway. There's a pile of them from the UK. We've got, I think, a company from France looks like they're going to come. We've got a bunch from like Taiwan. We've got one in Hong Kong, another one from Singapore. We've got Manas watches, which is like a really high-end manufacturer. They're coming from Japan. I mean, they're incredible, their stuff.
Yeah. Yo, if y'all have never seen these, oh my gosh, those watches are phenomenal.
They're over the top, and they are so they put so much time and craftsmanship into these pieces. I think they only make like 500 or 600 timepieces.
Yes, it's a small, yeah.
And these pieces are pretty exceptional. So, you know, there's a lot of exceptional watch brands coming to the show. But Manas is one of these brands that's not really well known yet in the North American market. And they're definitely worth checking out as well as part of the show. We got like a lot of other great brands, I should say, too. Christopher Ward is coming in from the UK.
Oh, that's amazing.
Sponsors. They got some great stuff. Strapsco, which is a strap company out of Montreal. They got a huge business. They're coming out. We got a lot of great American brands. Jack Mason's coming. Vortex watches is coming. Fears watches from UK. Isotope watches from the UK. There's lots of others too, but there's some really, really cool brands.
Bro, you got some heavy hit, man. You have to be feeling good. You have to be like on this natural high.
It feels amazing.
Man, that's huge.
Yeah. I started putting everything together, the idea, around May of 2023. So, you know, within 4 or 5 months, it's come a tremendous ways. And the community here is so excited about the show. And I get messages now on a regular basis, people asking me about it. And, you know, it's funny because people I know who are already going, you know, they have other watch enthusiast friends. They're like, hey, have you heard about the show? You know, are you going to go? Or, you know, and they've already got tickets. So the word is spreading. And I think it's just going to be an amazing event, not just for the local community, but I really want to make this show something special and Toronto's a great city to visit. So, you know, I would encourage everyone, if you ever thought about coming to Canada for a trip, and Toronto's a good city to be at, you know, make a trip out of it, come up for a few days and take in the show at the same time. You'll have a great time.
That company name was Manas, MANASE.
Yeah.
I'll actually, so after this show, I will drop a couple of shorts for you guys to see, because I actually have footage of their watches when I went down to Texas. Amazing watch company. But the companies that you named, you know what? I have to say, equally across the board, I have to give you guys a lot of praise, man, because to have a watch or any product in that space right now with all of the different brands, because dude, when we was down there in Texas, man, it was about 37.
Yeah, it was like 35, 40 brands there as well. It's a ton. It's a ton.
There's a lot of eyes. There are a lot of, you know, like hoping that your brand is being picked up and stuff like that, man. And and I received your message, man. And I will tell you guys this. I do like the watch, you know, and I've had it for a few days. And the only thing I can tell you about it is I got a piece that I wanted. You know, it got the meteorite. It has my favorite color, which is blue. It's comfortable. The finishing on it is now. I will say this: with all of the watches, I know price point because somebody was asking the price points of the watches. So your the other dials are around
They're about $869 US.
$869.
The meteorite is $1129, and most of the additional cost for the meteorite is just because of the dial material itself. It costs quite a bit more to get that dial made and also finished up. The way they finish it, whereas you have the regular dial and it's painted, meteorite, because the material is a little more fragile, they actually back it with like a copper brass plate as well to give it a bit of rigidity. So when they drill the holes for the applied indices, the meteorite doesn't fracture or crack. So it just takes a bit more processing time. And meteorite is it's not a common material, let's say, on the earth, right? So, yeah.
So that got to be nerve wracking, man. Like if you not to break it and be like crap, you got to. But you know what Manas was saying the same thing
for sure than like what you get typically. There's a small percentage, but there's a percentage of material that when they work it, it breaks or is not suitable to use anymore, so they have to discard it. So there's an element of that too.
Joe, so after I'll tell you what, I didn't even put it under the torch for a full blast, and this thing went past 33 minutes.
Nice.
I'm seeing it. So on the full blast, I'm pretty sure it'll last till the morning.
Yeah, I've had people who've bought the watch, and again, I don't know the exact specifics, but they've worn it out all day. And when they put it on their nightstand, it'll glow for most of the night. It diminishes, of course, over time, right? But
yeah,
it's still going in the morning.
It's still going in the morning. So you can faintly see it at 5 a.m. I'm looking like, okay, you can still tell it's glowing. But after 33 minutes, it's legible, and he had it on the, I'll show you. Of course, I got all the lights on, but like there's a pip on their seconds hand, and you can still see it, which I've seen some companies do great loom, but they forgot to put it on the seconds hands. I'm like, bro.
No, that's part of a true dive watch, right? You've got the minimum of like the pip on the bezel glowing, but you've also got to have like a ball or a pip or something on the second hand, so you can see where the second hand goes, right? So
yeah. I do have a few watches that they forgot that, and I think you like even up here at the 12 o'clock, you guys see, man, this is actually like a little bump. If you could see that.
Yeah, it's like an applied.
Yeah, it's raised. Yeah. I like that. And then, of course, my favorite.
You love that bezel action.
Oh, you killed it.
When you were doing your unboxing, I was laughing because you were so into it. You're like, oh, I love it.
Man, the bezel action, and I went last year. I went to a local AD, and I had to test out a Tudor for myself, the Tudor Black Bay. And it is so crisp. But then Escudo, I think I'm saying it right, their bezel. So the creators of them, their Portuguese watch company, they have two ball bearings at the 12 o'clock, and like two of them, one at the top, one at the bottom. And that thing is, spot on. It is super crisp.
I don't know if they're done in Washington, but I know they were trying to come out to Toronto too, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year just because of some scheduling conflicts. But they're a pretty cool brand, and when I've talked to them, they're just down to earth guys too. I really like them.
They're real cool and man, energetic, passionate. I give them that, and that's huge. And Jason, I have so I'm rating you right now as a watch company you representing. And I have to say that I mentioned this on my show the other day. I don't believe that every watch company wants a certain class of people to have their watches. They want it to be in a certain class, like somebody that may drive a Mercedes or something like that, not a Ford pickup truck, and they work construction. They're like, I don't want that. They're not going to tell you that. But from day one, when I came over to your booth and you gave me the rundown, and then before you finished telling me about the watch, you said, hey, bro, here, take some stuff. And I have like Zenea stuff, materials. I had the cloth, the hat, and all in the coffee mug. And I said, wow, I thought that was amazing. And, if I could have bought the watch then, I would have got it because I thought the watch was phenomenal. However, you treated everybody just so well. And I was like, man, I was very observant. And I was there with I think he's in the chat. Dave D was with me. He had flew out to Chicago to come check it out. I think it was an amazing show. And then of course I saw you again down there in Austin. And I have to say that you do have a company that I would love to see become a household name. There's a couple of micro brands that I would love to see become a household name because one, you didn't shortcut it. Thank you. I hate, coming discovering certain things like, man, they could have did this. I've actually become spoiled on just having that push button versus just having the friction class.
Yeah.
And then you have like that on the fly extension for the divers thing. That is slick. I like that. So I have to give you a passing grade on that, man. Like 5 flames. You did an amazing job, sir.
Thank you.
An amazing job.
And when it comes down to watches and things, every collector, is a little different. Brands are all a little different too. For me, having people feel comfortable to kind of explore getting into things like watches. It doesn't matter whether somebody's a modest collector or just starting, or somebody's a heavy hitter and they've got a huge, massive collection or a very prestigious collection. The best people I've had experiences with they just enjoy watches and they enjoy chatting with other people who have a passion for it too. Even if their collecting focus is really different. So for me, having that kind of comfortable or that ability to just engage with everybody is a core value for me. So thank you for sharing that to me, because it means a lot, because that's why that's part of who I am, and I try and emulate that because it's important.
It's sapphire crystal. I don't know if I think somebody answered that question.
Crystal. And it's got triple layer anti-reflective coating on the inside of the sapphire as well. So
because it'll trick you like you can actually touch it.
And you'll see the reflection. It's actually really good. You can stay legible to quite an acute angle. So
you and the other thing too is the placement of your name on the actual dial. That is important too, because some is kind of goofy looking, it's kind of clunky. This one fits, it's symmetrical. Like I'm like, all right, I like that. Dress right dress. Everything to me is amazing.
Yeah, we tried to keep it, to me, I've always been a fan of watches too that have that kind of clean symmetry and a bit of utility look to them. So all my design language when I put something together is always, it's as much as I enjoy chronographs, I have a big collection at home. I only have a couple chronographs because I find for me personally, they get a little too busy. But so I like to kind of have more designs and dials which are a bit cleaner in style. So that's certainly an element that I brought to, when I put the Zenea Eula diver together.
Okay, well, I tell you what, it's a hit as far as I'm concerned. Now, I tell you, we coming up on an hour, man. I'm gonna let you get back to your family, man.
That was quick.
Yeah, man, hour goes by. Listen, it does, man. And I would love to have you on again and having a community talk. We have some other shows that's going to be coming up where there'll be multiple, creators out here, and we're just having a watch talk about stuff across the board.
Let's do it. I used to do that a few times. I used to be part of a talk every once in a while, and I can't remember what it was called. It was some folks and the friends I have in the UK. But they would crack open a beer and just chat about watches.
Let's do that.
That's the way to do it. So I'm always open to that stuff. And hopefully you can come up to Toronto too. I'd love to see you.
I am going to do everything in my power to actually do that. And I encourage you guys that's looking, feel free to come out there. And please go over to the Instagram page. Check it out. If you want to know more about Zenea watches, I would encourage you to go over there and check it out yourself and then make a determination if this is a watch for you. Because I like it, don't mean you're going to like it.
Yeah.
But if you do get one, don't get the meteorite dial because I got it first. All right. Y'all go get the other colors, man. I don't want to see y'all posting these pictures that y'all got this one.
Now that you said that, a bunch of meteorites are going to get ordered. I'm telling you. Yeah. Right now, give us a follow. I'm pretty responsive on Instagram too. So if you have questions or you want to know something, just give me a shout. I always reach out and I respond back pretty quick. And I love engaging other members of the community. So give us a follow at Zenea Watches, or if you're interested in the show, Toronto Timepiece Show is the tag or the nick for the show. Instagram as well.
I'll be sharing that the following video, guys. I'll be doing some up close pictures of this with some music. I'm not even going to talk about it because I'm telling you the watch is a hit. It's perfect for me. It may be perfect for you. Remember, No meteorite though. Y'all get those other colors. Don't be trying to copy me. No, seriously though. Thank you so much for coming on, taking your time because you with your family. You're an amazing guy, man. I love how genuine you are. That is the biggest sale for me that I bought from somebody that I know is genuine and you love watches. So it's a no-brainer for me. Guys, I hope you guys get to, meet him in person. Awesome guy. And the straps too. He got his own straps. Amazing straps.
Oh yeah, those aren't even on the website yet, but those are soon to come up. So I just had those produced a short time ago. Yeah.
Great guy. Great conversation. This was a great live. I have to say, this is probably one of the best lives I've ever had. You know what I'm saying? You're amazing, dude. You're a natural, sir.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to come back, man.
You always have such a good energy. First time I met you down in Chicago, I was like, I didn't realize who you were until after we talked for like a minute. I said, "Oh, I know who you are," because you did all those sessions. And you're just so fun and down to earth and genuine, man. I love it every time I talk to you, and I say that from my heart.
I appreciate it.
You're a good man, and I appreciate the energy that you bring to this community and just with the watch world in general. So it's a privilege to know you. So thank you for being you. Keep doing it,
man. Thank you. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the show. Appreciate you guys participating in all the questions, man. Y'all already know my slogan. Until the next lightning strike, y'all be blessed.
Take care, everyone.